So, as with everything in politics, things have become so binary that there is no political debate anymore. If you're against Y, then you equal X. Now, Jimmy Dore was responding to Stephen King on Twitter. King, most of us know, he's a milquetoast liberal, fine. But this is what he had to say in regards to the war in Ukraine. For the love of God, Russia, stop this pointless war in the Ukraine. Stop the bombing of unarmed civilians. Putin must step down. Then Dore quote tweeted him saying, the TV doesn't tell him that United States is illegally occupying 1/3 of Syria so we can steal their oil, so he doesn't call for US to stop that pointless war. But the TV tells him to care about Ukraine, so he focuses on another manufactured and provoked war by Western capitalists. I mean, fine, he's not wrong about Western imperialism, but why this response to King, who is, not going to lie, correctly pointing out that Russian aggression is bad? Dore should have saved that response for the right-wing neocons who are actually drumming up war. We all know that the US is acting like the world police. The US are the biggest aggressors when it comes to imperialism. But that doesn't mean you can't call it aggression when it's not the West. But according to Dore, apparently that is not the case. So this is me quote tweeting Dore. Why is everything binary? Russia is the aggressor in this war. The US is also an imperialist shithouse. Opposing imperialism is supposed to be a principle. You don't pick and choose which country you get angry about. It shouldn't be controversial to be against imperialism as a matter of principle. But not for Jimmy Dore. He responded, you obviously get your news about Ukraine from the TV, so you have no idea what's actually happening. Well, clearly, I'm not some normie who engages in politics now and again. I don't get my news from the TV. I'm literally here producing independent content. And if any of you don't know, I also work for The Canary, which is arguably one of the biggest actual radical left publication in the UK. In fact, I literally point that out to him. Just because people disagree doesn't mean they're brainwashed from the mainstream media, especially me when I literally work for a publication that constantly challenges the media. Then he said, journalist, lol, is that what you call repeating CIA talking points on Ukraine? Thanks for sucking, cause I make a living debunking pro-war news, unlike you, who is currently making a living pushing pro-war propaganda. Pro-war propaganda. You shouldn't really be labelling anyone anything if you're not even a little bit familiar of other people's work. I get it, he's famous, I'm not. This channel, it's still voluntary. The Canary is only supported by individual donations. But one scan of the website and you'll clearly see it's not pro-war. I'd also like to know who funds him. Now, if you disagree, fine, tell me why. You can tell me that NATO pushed Russia to do it. And honestly, you'd be half right anyway, because the existence of NATO was a response to the Warsaw Pact, in which NATO should have been disbanded along with the pact. I literally made a video last year saying that I think NATO should be disbanded. But of course, according to Grifter Dore, I push Western imperialist propaganda. However, it doesn't excuse Russia to literally invade a sovereign nation. This doesn't mean I think that Ukraine are the good guys, because guess what? There are no good guys when it comes to nation states. So my response was, have you even read what we publish? Of course not. Anyway, so kind of you to actually post on main and not one of your sock accounts. I know it can get confusing for you. Yeah, that was a little dig, but I think he deserves it. And Dore is, he's becoming notorious for name searching himself, having sock accounts, pretend to be a fan, and sometimes he forgets to switch accounts. Now, finally, he said that I should be embarrassed. I'm not ashamed of being principally anti-war. What I would be embarrassed about is that despite having over 1 million YouTube subs, he still finds the time to create fake accounts to boost himself. But clearly, I'm no match for Dore. I'm just a faux leftist, pro-Western imperialist propagandist, and Dore, he's the real progressive who checks notes, sided with far-right group the Boogaloo Boys. He also continues to push vaccination misinformation. And why is he praising Marjorie Taylor Greene as a leftist, yet spends a lot of the time attacking most progressive Democrats? Now, don't get me wrong, I have many criticisms for them. I've got a lot of criticisms of AOC, massively, but he does it to the point that it's unproductive. Now, I used to like Jimmy Dore. I thought he was one of the best panelists on TYT. He seemed like a proper leftist compared to the rest of the more liberal panel. I liked his aggression, the no BS, it was pretty entertaining. But people need to understand that the man has gone down a right-wing grift. He knows that being anti-Western imperialism is popular among the left and pockets of the right, which objectively, that's a good thing. It's good when, now and again, progressives can work with libertarians to take on the neocons. However, when you point out that other nations also do imperialism, then he comes at you. So I don't think he's particularly concerned about being anti-war, don't think he's particularly concerned about pro-peace. That doesn't seem to bother him. Rather, he just wants popularity and that money. But his replies quite literally prove my point that everything is binary, which is what I alluded to at the beginning of the video. You can't have a critique of something without being labelled the complete opposite. Now, I've had so many issues with the aggro-centrists in the mainstream media. I've been called Putin's puppet for pointing out that Zelensky, although we should support Ukraine, isn't a good guy. I've talked about the media propping him up as some kind of hero. I've called out the anti-worker and anti-union policies he's pursued. His policies on suppressing media, opposition parties, is objectively very right-wing. So it's funny to hear that I'm a Western imperialist from Jimmy, but I'm not going to take BS of someone who is a grifter who just follows the money.